The IBP Open Budget Survey is a very good instrument that measures availability of 8 documents. We all know that the budget is probably the most important document of governance, apart from the Constitution. And for many countries, the corruption process starts with the budget. If the budget is done in secret, there are no reports of performance, then corruption is protected and guarded. That's why open budget is very key.
You need commitment from the very top for this to be able to succeed. In this case, when you have that commitment, then those charged with driving the reforms know that whatever reforms, reasonable and responsible reforms you come up with will likely be met with approval. And then, of course, you need the partners prodding you on, encouraging you.
We had an experience where some of these documents were not available, and then CSOs came together to push, do the advocacy around that to say, okay, based on the laws that we have, based on the Fiscal Responsibility Act, you're supposed to publish these documents at a particular period. So there were a lot of engagement between CSOs, the Budget Office, and also the Federal Ministry of Finance and Federal Ministry of Budget and National Planning on the period that these documents should be published. They took on the idea of publishing the Citizens Guide to Budget document, which showed more transparency, more information for people to understand what the government was working on.
We had experienced periods where our budgets were passed in March and sometimes in May. There was the third year that was passed in June was really what hits the chord that we must work together with the Parliament to get the January to December budget cycle passed.
The National Assembly played 2 specific roles that led to the phenomenal improvement of the Nigerian rating in the Open Budget Index. First is that over the years, the previous sections of the National Assembly were unable to pass budget before the end of the year. But this 9th Assembly consistently for the past 7 years passed the budget before 31st of December. In addition to that, the relevant committees, through their oversight function, ensure that the relevant agencies, especially the Federal Ministry of Budget and National Planning and Finance and the Budget Office, were able to make the relevant documents available.
We've had that particular success where the budget document is being published on time, and then the budget implementation reports, because there are many CSOs who are tracking government projects. So there was somebody who was holding government to account. The request by CSOs was very simple. We wanted to increase the citizens' participation in the budget process.
The Open Treasury Portal was to be an enhancement that will help the citizens to further interrogate the budget process even as it is being implemented. The portal provides access to citizens to any financial transaction of government, and the citizen can check the details behind the transaction. It helps us to track how we are performing on the budget. It also gives the citizens information on how the budget is performing.
So now, while you also have the audit reports, which is published at the end of the year, the fiscal year, right? You can also see what they are spending in real time, even before you get there.
In the past, civil society did not participate much in the individual committee meetings. But in this 9th National Assembly, we've seen increased engagement by civil society and media, particularly during committee engagement with the relevant ministries, departments, and agencies. The National Assembly deliberation proceedings are now online, so people can see when the budget is being deliberated, when discussions on the budget takes place, not just civil society organizations who are working on the budget process, but the entire Nigerian public can see what is happening.
It's actually good to hear this, that Nigeria is improving on fiscal, on the OBS, the Open Budgeting Survey, and it's really good to know that we are doing something good than that. So with the demand from the outside saying that we want to see your document, we want to be able to understand it, we want you to explain to us what this is, there is now a sit-up from government to say, yes, we have to be publishing this. But we are not there where we want really. We want a situation where the audit report is published within, once it's done, within a month. it's published and everybody has it. But yes, we'll get there.
As they say, human beings are wired to resist change. So sometimes even trying to introduce a better way to do something, the response is to say no, to reject, to resist it. We seek to institutionalize these reforms through legislation and other means. And then when people see the benefit of the reform, they own it.
The challenge will be the government, if there's that political will that drops, whether there's a change in administration and they're not interested in changing it, because it's very easy for government to just roll back. CSOs will push, of course, but it's very easy for government to roll back.
So what we're really missing is an organic budget law to be able to set up the budget office to stand on its own as an institution, and also to have a law that guides all of its actions.
There are still challenges with the budgetary process. There are still challenges of necessary increased budgetary allocation for education, health, infrastructure, and agriculture, which has not happened. There is still challenge of increased monitoring of procurement procedures.
Open budget makes sense for us as a country. Country wins, the citizens win. At the end of the day, everybody wins.